Hey guys and girls, my name's Dan, welcome back to The Forge. In this episode of Trust Me, I'm a Blacksmith, I'm going to tell you why I'm not a professional blacksmith. I'm not a professional blacksmith. Oh. Okay. Okay guys, yes, it might turn out by the end of this video I might not be a professional blacksmith after all. But it's not a problem, and I don't really care. To be honest with you, I learned a lot doing some research that I did for this video. This video is basically another vote for video. I'm going to try and do one a month, one a fortnight, something like that. I enjoy doing them. I like seeing what you guys want to see. The two choices for this video were the top thumb, people who forge with their thumb on top of their hammer like so, and the second video was what it takes to be a professional blacksmith. And I think that's quite an interesting subject. These were both questions that were asked to me either private message or by they were like a comment basically. So I'm going to keep an eye out for comments in videos and things like that. So if someone asks me something about I don't know, fire welding or forging or what I think of such and such or basically I'll put it out to a vote and you guys can pick one, and I'll do a video on both of them, but one will come before the other, basically, and you guys don't care about your health. All you want to know is how you earn the sweet moolah as a professional blacksmith. No, that's not true. Unfortunately, this video is probably going to say to a lot of you guys out there that you're not professional. And to be honest with you, what I thought was professional is kind of, I was kind of right on what I thought professional was. But at the same time, it was like, oh, that's a bit disappointing because I'm not professional, which is fine. I don't mind. But anyway, if you don't like this, just leave a dislike. But if you do leave a dislike, just let me know why you thought I was wrong, or why you didn't like this video, or you just don't like me, or whatever it is. Just let me know, because just leaving a dislike is useless. It also promotes the channel, so if you're doing it maliciously, you're actually promoting the video. Yes, research. I did some research, and the research that I've done relates to other professions, because unfortunately, as a fringe craft, as a craft on the outside periphery that is growing, definitely growing, there's not that much documentation, there's not much that we can take. Modern science and stuff that we can take, and studies and that. We can't take case studies and sort of expand on those based in blacksmithing, but we can take case studies on professionalism within the stock exchange or sportsman or things like that. So that's what I've done basically, and I've also used the dictionary definition of what professional means, and that was quite interesting. Now, it came up with 3 definitions: a person who has a profession, and I was like, duh. But the second description was almost exactly the same. Someone who earns their money from a specialist subject would be a professional. And then the third one, which I find, which is the most controversial and which is the one that causes the most problems here in this conversation, is an expert. So let's go into the second description, which was someone who earns their money, who earns money through a specialism, is a professional. Now, I used to work full-time for myself as a blacksmith, and I don't anymore. Now, herein lies the problem, because as an expert goes, I don't think I'm an expert either. But we'll cover that in a second. So let's take a series of baseball players. You've got your amateur baseball player, you've got your semi-professional, and you have your professional baseball player. Now, your amateur baseball player does this as a hobby, so this would be your garden blacksmith, as I start to refer to them, your hobbyist, your backyard blacksmith. These are the guys who are doing it for the fun. Then you've got your semi-pros. So the semi-pros might be the guys that are good enough to get a little bit of money, so they might get support from local community schemes, they might get paid by I don't know, some sort of local council or government. They might get paid by some sort of grant or something, a charity grant, to help them improve as a semi-pro, so maybe that one day they can become a professional, or perhaps just to get them, you know, competing within groups that are semi-pro just to add a bit more flavour to the baseball community. And then you've got your professionals who get paid by teams to play baseball for money. And it's very specific that professionals make their living and support themselves with the money that they make for their profession, their specialism. So that's where I don't fall into professional blacksmithing in that example. Now, this is what I would say, and this is what I consider someone who is a professional, someone who gets paid for what they do. Technically, I'm semi-pro. I do not earn my money from blacksmithing alone. I do not support myself through this business on its own. In fact, I work a second job. I work 3 days a week for a company handling art and making components and parts for them, and I spend 3 days a week, or 3 to 4 days a week here in the workshop. And if you split the money up, I earn most of my money that I use to pay the bills and put food on the table at home for me and my girlfriend. I earn that money. The artworks at about 40% of the money I earn from the blacksmithing side comes in and supports me a little bit. So I guess I'm semi-professional as opposed to being professional. Now let's get on to expert. Now this is the one that knocks me off a bit, because I think there's a lot of people out there who think they're experts when they're not. And I have used a little bit of information I found out about the trials and tribulations of a doctor. Now, doctors who fix you, so they're medical doctors that work in medical sciences. So let's take a neurosurgeon, the path to brain surgery. Not for you, for the doctor, basically, to give you surgery. Now, a doctor who practices neurosurgery will have to go through certain stages in order to get to the point where he can do the surgery, or even tell people about how to perform those surgeries. And in order to do that, he has to then first do a degree, and then an MA, and then a PhD. And I think this is pretty standard worldwide. You have to have a PhD in order to be called a doctor. In order to get onto a PhD, you probably have to have an MA, if not two. And then to do an MA, you pretty much need a degree. There are some examples of when you can do an MA without a master's, without a degree, but basically most people have to do a degree, then a master's, and then a PhD. Now, they go through that process, which can take 7 years, sometimes it can take 10 years, it depends, and then they end up becoming junior doctors. And then junior doctors are like apprentice doctors who then spend another 10 years being junior doctors. And then after they spend 10 years being a junior doctor, and that's at least in the UK, they then start down the road of their specialised profession, and they have to basically earn their stripes. They have to go through the mill and learn how to cut people's brains up. And that could take 30 years. It could take 30 years for someone to be an accredited professional brain surgeon who is an expert. That's time, lots and lots of time. You have to have a general grasp on the human anatomy, and then you have to go through a process of writing something that you have decided to write on that's unique to your field, and blah blah blah. And then you become a junior doctor, and then you got to do all the crap jobs that nurses do. And as you get better as a junior doctor, you get slightly better jobs, and then you go on, and then you pick your blah blah. It takes a long time, right? And there's lots of people who are pretending to be black, or not pretending to be blacksmiths. They are blacksmiths. There are lots of people at home in their backyards bouncing hammers around on anvils going, no, I did this, blah, 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 blah. And they've got 5 years experience. I have about 8 years experience, or nearly 8 years. And for 3 of those years I was at university, and I worked for 1 year with a guy, doing sort of welding, fabricating, blacksmithing. So am I an expert? No, and I don't consider myself to be an expert. I'm sharing with you information that I know and I have developed over time. Someone else once said to me as well, it takes about 10,000 hours to get good at anything. So basket weaving, or pot making, or glass blowing, or whatever it is you do, takes about 10,000 hours to get good at it. And that's the same for blacksmithing. But as a professional blacksmith, as someone who has customers, as someone who has a business to run, I don't spend my entire time at the anvil. So in these 8 years, or whatever, like 4 and a bit years, here working on this anvil, I spend time talking to customers, ordering stock, finding out the cheapest place to get stock from, doing designs, doing my tax returns, making YouTube videos, doing advertising, promoting my business. All of these things take time, and they all accumulate in skills that I'm learning. And as I go through my business life, I learn more, and I will gradually get to those 10,000 hours in all those subjects. But then if you take blacksmithing, so this is any self-employed blacksmith, by the way. So yeah, your wife might help you with some of the paperwork side of things, and you might be a team, but as a team, you're still one of you is having to do the doing the physical side of the blacksmithing. And then within that blacksmithing, there are different elements to blacksmithing. Do you consider welding fabricating to be part of blacksmithing? If so, you need to do 10,000 hours of that. But I've got a MIG welder, a TIG welder, and I do stick welding. Well, you've got to do 10,000 hours on each one of those. So it takes a long time to accumulate all those skills. So blacksmithing, for example, actually forging at the anvil, fire welding, forging things into shape, bending things into shape, cutting, and then hole punching is an example of cutting, and then stretching that hole out into shape is an example of forging, upsetting. Do we go into 10,000 hours for all of those subjects before someone's an expert? So it's really interesting when you really break down what it is that makes someone an expert. The people who are experts are the people who are writing books on the subject. They are the people who have 30, 40 years of experience. They've been doing this man and boy. These are our experts. And they are the sort of people that can call themselves professionals based on the fact that they've been doing the job for so very long. They've seen all of the things that have been thrown at them, and they see, but yeah, basically that's it. They are professionals. So, an expert. I'm not an expert. I have so much to learn, and every job I do, I learn something. Everybody I speak to on YouTube or on Instagram who shares information with me, I learn something speaking to those people. I learn in my workshop when I'm out on site and something goes wrong, like the sandstone splits in half or something crazy like that. I learn something new every time I do a job, and I think that's greatly important to realise. So, if I'm not an expert, and I don't earn all my money in his workshop, I am not a professional blacksmith. I'll let you take that however you want. I would consider myself someone who is in our journey. I would consider myself someone who is still at the rocky bedrock of my career. I feel I've got a good foundation. I feel I've had some good training. I feel I've been interacting with great and interesting people who have helped me and nurture me into a position where I can become, hopefully one day, a good blacksmith, if not a great one. And I'd just like to finish on what the definition for professionalism, and one of the subjects in that was someone who was fair-handed, realistic, and they had a genuine approach to their specialism. And I think that's great. I think they're great aspects to take away. So, if you want to be a professional blacksmith, I think the things that you first need is to get real. You need to take a good hard look at what it is that you want to do. And if that is have a workshop and make things out of metal by getting them hot and hitting them hard, you need to work out how you can do that. Specialise if you want to, so make Damascus knives or so on and so forth, or be a jack of all like me, and I am a master of none. Learn as much as you can, find as much information out as you can every day. Watch my videos, watch Joey Vander, whatever his name is, go and watch Alex Steele, go and watch Chandler Dixon, go and watch as many blacksmiths as you can bloody watch, because they are the people that will give you the information that you need in order to become a professional blacksmith. You'll learn from all of them to do, what not to do, how to go about doing stuff, how to not go about doing stuff. Anyway, basically, and be humble as well when you're going through your processes of learning and educating. And if someone's doing something and you don't know why they're doing it, or if someone's doing something and you think they're doing it wrong, ask them a question politely, and try not to be a sarcastic. I am a sarcastic bugger. I know I am. I do it all the time. But ask people nicely. Say, why are you doing that? What's the purpose in doing that? Does that have an effect on this? Blah, 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 blah. And that way you'll get a lot further. And yeah, make those 10,000 hours count. If you want to be a good blacksmith, you've got to do 10,000 hours at that anvil to be okay. And then you've got to do 10,000 hours in each of your specialisms in order to be great. So that's it. That's what it takes to be a professional. So thank you for joining me. It's been great having you here. As a semi-professional, I'd like to say thank you. Maybe I'm not. Maybe I'm even a novice. I don't know. Anyway, but thank you for joining me. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did enjoy this video, remember, leave a like. If you didn't like this video, obviously dislike it. But leave a reason if you're going to dislike it. Don't just dislike it because you think you're going to cause some sort of massive earthquake within the YouTube community where I disappear into a hole. I'm not going anywhere. Yes, like and subscribe. If you are already a subscriber, please ring that bell for notifications because it'll tell you every time I make a video, and I make videos as often as humanly possible. I got loads of stuff waiting in the wings, so hopefully you enjoyed this video, and there's more to come. I've got some Patreon stuff coming up real soon. I've got hammer stuff coming up soon. I've got Alex is here tomorrow, and we're going to be making some more bits and bobs for Wally's railings. Handrail, he's not having any railings here on handrail. That's everything. Thank you for joining me. I hope you enjoyed this video. I will leave a link up here for a video where I speak about making money, and another video here about how to be a professional blacksmith. Is basically like the schoolyard route. This is my Patreon. Please go and check that out. And this is a subscription button. If you click that, you'll subscribe. Thank you for joining me. See you later, guys. Bye bye.